All right. So I'm so happy I get to welcome Jillian Murphy to the podcast. How are you, Jill?
What's up? I'm so happy to be here. You're like one of my absolute favorite humans. So I'm like so pumped to hang out with you for the next hour.
I am so excited for this. Jillian has so much energy and I just absolutely adore her. We're going to get into all the things that she does to serve entrepreneurs and why she is dubbed the sales queen in
I'll
a
take
little
it.
bit. But tell us, Jill, what makes what got you interested in sales? Like give us the whole background on how you became so good at this.
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I was not someone who was good in sales when I first started. I went to college actually for law enforcement, and I was actually at a golf outing with my parents. My parents are both business owners, and there was four guys that were playing ahead of us, and the tee in front of them was playing slow. So I struck up a conversation with these four guys, and they were like, "You'd be great in sales," and I was like, "I'm going to go to college to be a cop. Like, no interest in sales." And we just started talking, like the whole game. We started talking, and then we had dinner that night. He gave me his card and he's like, if you're ever interested in like an internship or something, like I'd love to like bring you on and see. And I was like, okay. And summer came around. My parents were like, you need to get a job, you need to do something. And I had that guy's card and I called him, and the rest is kind of history. I never finished college for law enforcement, fell in love with sales from literally day one. And yeah, I did it for 22 years in the corporate space. And now I have the honor and privilege of working with people online.
Amazing. So sales is something that I think most entrepreneurs and business owners, when they start, is probably one of the weaker areas for most people.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a struggle to get into a sales mindset for sure. Why do you think sales is so challenging for business owners? And what's probably the thing that people struggle with the most?
I think it's difficult for them because sales is a skill. And most of us have not been taught that skill, right? It's no different than if I said, well, I'm not a really good cook. Well, Jill, you don't have any cookbooks and you've never taken a cooking lesson and you don't really have any utensils or pans. You're right, I haven't. So I think that sometimes people think that to be good in sales, you just have to be this like super talkative person who's an extrovert. And if I'm not that, then I'm not good in sales. And what I know to be true is that the clients that talk the least are my best salespeople. My introverts are my best salespeople. So I think that what happens is we have this like perception around what it is. And I think sales is awkward for people because they've been sold in a way that didn't feel good. So they think that's like the only way to be sold to. So when I work with people, whether it's one-on-one or in a group coaching program, one of the first things I say is like, how do you like to be sold to? Then make sure that that's how you're selling to your audience, right? It has to align with what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And then I think a lot of people think that they're in like the convincing business. Like I got to convince someone to buy my programs, products, or services. If you just let people know, like this is available at my store, and if you need it, I'm here. There's not this like weird awkwardness to it.
Yeah. And I think sales, people associate sales with salesy, salesperson, used card salesman, and
Yeah.
all the things that go along with like a personality and a persona that they picture. And what's so funny is I feel like accountants are also victimized by that. Like
Yes.
there's a stereotypical accountant you picture when you say a salesperson in your head, you're picturing like an old, 70s suit, probably a car salesman. And probably the same thing for an accountant is like an old white guy in a suit. And it's like, I don't want to talk to this person. I don't like what they do. And I think we have such negative association with both of those things. And I think that's also partially why we get along because we're both trying to kind of break that mold in our
Yeah.
own respective businesses. But one thing I'm noticing is that there's this hesitation to actively sell on social platforms or publicly. People try to kind of hold it close to the vest and say, well, I don't want to be salesy, quote unquote. What do you say to them? How do you kind of coach them through that?
So if you don't want to be salesy, don't. like it's really that simple. Like don't be salesy and find a way that energetically feels good to you and you can show up and talk about it. So maybe your zone of genius is that you love to teach. Well, then teach about your products. Maybe it's that you like to inspire people. They'll then inspire about your products. And remember, at the end of the day, sales is serving people. Like they have a need and you have a product. But what I also know to be true, and I see this all the time online, you can have the greatest program, product, services, whatever. If people don't know you're open for business, they're buying from somebody else. So you have to be talking about your products, right? I always tell this story. I live in a really small town and we have a Starbucks. and it's wrapped around the building. It's super annoying. It causes traffic jams every single day. Less than a mile down the road is this amazing coffee shop. You can like take your dog, there's like fireplaces, and no one's ever in there. No one's ever in there because they're not like, we have coffee, like we're a great coffee shop, because they probably don't want to be that like boisterous brand or that boisterous company. But in the meantime, people are driving past it and driving past businesses, coaches, mentors all the time, because people don't even know what you have.
I love that. It's so true. It's about how are you creating awareness too? Because sales starts with that, right? Like we think sales starts at the sales call, or sales starts at the, when the customer is like in your hand, but sales really starts a lot earlier than that, right?
Yeah. So I always say like there's sales and there's like the close. So when
Right.
you're showing up on social media, creating content, you're selling. When you're on a podcast right now, I'm selling. When I'm in a masterclass, I'm selling. When I'm talking to the guy at Starbucks, like I'm selling. The close is when you get them on a call or in the DMs, or a contract is signed, or an invoice is sent. So if you're not selling all the time, you're going to have a really hard time closing. If you guys follow me on social media, I hope that you do, shameless plug. I sell every day on social media, every day. I'm like, this is what I have. This is what's available. Join my masterclass, join my Facebook group, because I'm bringing people to me through the sales. Then the close is something totally different. When I was in corporate sales, I managed 227 men, and they would come to me on a Friday and they'd tell me about their weeks. And they would be like, I had such a good sales week this week. I'd be like, well, what'd you do? Oh, I like had all these conversations, and I was like talking, and I was like doing all these things. And I was like, yeah, that's sales and presenting, but where's the close? So they are like two totally different animals, and you have to be good at one or you'll never get to the close over here.
Oh my God, I totally agree. And I think we all associate sales with the close,
Yeah,
and it starts so much earlier than that. And you mentioned something too, like always be selling, right?
yeah,
And I think that there's this advice going around social media from a lot of social media experts and coaches that's like, sell X% of the time, don't sell in the feed, sell over here. When they're talking about selling, they're talking about really like promoting your product and service very directly.
yeah.
Um,
Like
but
buy
when
my shit. Yeah,
Exactly, buy my shit. But I think that what people don't realize is that you're always selling by showing up and presenting yourself as a brand. And that's what you're getting at, right? What do you think is the balance of the buy my shit versus the the
yeah.
brand awareness,
If
right?
you do the other stuff well, the buy my stuff comes so easy, right? If I show up every day on my social media and I educate and I give aspirational content and I create value, then when I have an offer, they're much more likely to buy. Versus if I only talk about buy my stuff, buy my offers, then they're like, who are you? When I came into the online space, I showed up for 4.5 months, almost 5 months, without selling anything. I built like know and trust. I wanted to make sure my audience was seen, loved, and heard, like all of these things. Then when I created a program and was like, buy my stuff, I had people there that were ready to do it. But if I wasn't doing those steps prior, I never would have had the success that I've had online.
Totally agree. And so for those listening too, that they come to this show and to me all the time for the money advice and the financial management, and thinking, how do I become more profitable? How do I increase my revenue, increase my profit? It really comes down to how good are you at selling and how good are you at managing your costs. And one whole side of that equation is how are you boosting your revenue and being profitable? Because I just posted this on social media this week and saying, passion is great. It needs to be profitable. It needs to make
Yeah,
money. It needs to be in demand.
yeah,
And I also think there's this intersection that has to happen between what does the market want from you and what do you want to be selling, and are you effectively messaging what you're
mhm,
selling to that target market, which I know is a focus of yours too. Can you talk about
mhm.
that for a second?
Yeah. And I love that you said it, because like I always say, like, you don't take likes to the bank. Like you don't, right? Like it doesn't matter who likes your stuff or even who comments, like how are you driving revenue to it? So again, going back to messaging, letting people know what it is that you have, letting them know that your store is open for business, whether it's a mastermind, a membership, a free text list, a masterclass, whatever it is. Does your audience know that you're open for business? Do they know how they can work with you? I should know when I go, especially to a client of mine, I should be able to know within the first 6 to 10 tiles what they do, what they're offering, and what they're selling. And if it's a picture of their dog and their kid and their grandma, I'm like, what does this person do? You want when your ideal client lands on your page to be like, she's either for me or not for me. And this is the problem that I have, or the desire in which I want, and she can help me get there. And if not, scroll onto something else. But this space is so saturated. There's 114% more coaches online today than there was 9-10 months ago. You have to stand out. You have to be like, buy my stuff. This is what I have. And if people don't know what you do, it doesn't matter. This is a great example. You and I are in a mastermind together, and somebody said, I need someone to help with sales. You were like, Jillian Murphy. If somebody says to me, I need help with finances or accounting, I'm like, Shannon. So what happens is you're creating what's called like omnipresence and mental real estate around what it is that you do. So not only your audience knows, but they can also share it out.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. I think anytime a question comes up in our mastermind where it has the word sales in it, I pretty much just go Jillian Murphy and like tag you in it. Right. And then if anyone says anything about taxes, I get tagged in it 10 times. And that's like the ultimate, right? I'm just smiling at that going, that's exactly what we want, is for someone to be front of mind, for you to be front of mind when someone thinks about a certain, even a word. They see sales and they go tag Jillian.
Yeah, 100%. It's like that mental real estate. And I learned this from Regina Lawrence, who was in our mastermind too. And it was like, don't try to be cute, just be really clear on what you do. And that was like one of my favorite things that she ever said. It's like, so often we come to this online space and we're trying to be cute. We're trying to use these like fancy words. We're trying to use these like unicorn things or whatever. And it's like, what do you do? Just tell people what you do, be known for one thing. And that's where the sales will go off the roof.
Yeah. I don't know what a transformational unicorn coach does. I don't.
Me neither. And when I get them and they're my one-on-one clients, I'm like, you're no longer a transformational unicorn coach. Like, I just broke up your business because we're no longer a transformational unicorn coach.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think clarity wins way over cute and clever. It's cute and clever is great once they're in the house and you have a branded thing and you're selling it to people who you already have engaged. But when you're out on your storefront, you want that sign to be very clear of what's inside when they walk in.
Right. People know that Starbucks has coffee. People know that Lululemon has workout clothes, right? You never walk by those stores and are like, what's in there? Because guess what? If you don't know what's in there, you usually walk right past.
Exactly. And even better, you want to be the type of store that people say, I have to go there. Like they're not even walking by or in the mall. They're going there just to go to your store.
Yes.
And that's the ultimate place to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Totally. So tell me, Jill, what are you seeing in terms of, it's 2021, we're wrapping up the year, right? We're heading into 2022. What are some of the trends you're seeing in sales strategy? What is working to convert? And what is kind of like getting to be a little passe? What's kind of going out the window that maybe used to be the rule of thumb?
I think long coaching programs are going out the door. I see that people who have longer like programs, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 months, 6 months, they're having a harder time selling them. I see a lot of people moving into this like 14-day program, 3-day program, 2-day VIP. I think that it's changing because again, as humans, we want things quick. And we want to learn, we want to integrate. So I think that has been the biggest thing. And I even have this from my own story. So, I have a signature program. It's 8 weeks long. It usually goes about 10, but every round it's been less people. And it hasn't been because the program has changed or the program the price has changed. It's actually probably gotten better because I've done it so many times, but it's not what people want anymore. They want to learn sales in a day. They want to learn sales in 6 hours. Right? They want to come to a 2-day masterclass and walk away with all the information. So I think that's the biggest thing. I don't know if it's going to stay that way forever, but I do know that is what's changing a little bit in this space.
Yeah, I think I would call it like a lower commitment. Like people want less time commitment. They perceive another coach of mine, or another coach that I know asked me, should I make my program 6 months, a whole year? And I'm thinking, that's a semester. That's a year, like that's signing up for a major commitment in my mind as a customer. So I think there's going to be a huge trend of more of like micro action of give me like one module of the online course, give me, 1 week of the punch and maybe let me buy 1 week at a time, buy them in like a la carte, right?
Yeah. And it's not even long for them. It's long for you.
Right.
So I run a 6-month mastermind, January to June, and then I run it June to December. So I've been tied up in a program every single Monday for the entire year. Like, so it's not just long for them, but it's long for you. And you'll start to see, like, we have 3 months left and we're like, it's a long time, 4 calls a month for 6 months. I mean, that's a good amount of time, you know, where I could maybe have taught it in a 3-month mastermind or a 90-day commitment or something like that. And again, then you can also grow your income quicker because then you're flipping them quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I totally agree. So we're talking about like lower commitment type of product, right? Like shorter duration or just more bite size. What else are you seeing in terms of trends that are either coming up or going out the window?
I would say what is going out the window is people being known for one thing anymore, but I don't necessarily agree with that trend. But
Interesting.
I see everyone is now a coach of everything. And I think that 6 months ago to a year, it was very much like be known for one thing. And that's what I believe. So I'm going to keep my stand on that. Be known for one thing, be the go-to person for that. But now I see a lot of coaches that this month they're teaching sales, next month they're teaching mindset, then they're teaching relationships, then they're teaching money, then they're teaching energetics, then they're teaching how to clean your closet, who knows, whatever it is. But like, it's all over the place. And then again, what happens is that income is great, but they're no longer the go-to person for one thing. So when that model fades out or it's not sustainable, what are these people the actual experts in? People
Right.
are
How
always
do I
going to need
know?
finance. People are always going to need sales.
Exactly. How do I know? When do I know I'm supposed to call them? I
Yeah.
always look at it as the 911 phone call. This is what I use when I'm coaching is, okay, there's a 911 phone call happening and your ideal customer is calling you. What just happened that they picked up the phone? Like what was
Mm-hmm.
the oh shit moment, I call it, where they went, "Oh my God, I need to call Shannon. I need to call Jillian. Enough's enough."
Yeah.
And that right there is what you're selling, is
Mm-hmm.
alleviation from that moment. And the problem is if you can't identify a single moment in your ideal client's life where that would happen, one single thing that's super clear. Like for me, it's IRS letter with a massive balance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Call Shannon.
Yeah.
Right?
And mine, it's
It,
like I've tried to launch 3 or 4 times and I'm not hitting consistent cash and I'm getting ghosted.
yep.
Okay. What's happening?
Exactly. So if that's you, by the way, listening, now you know who
Yeah.
to call.
Message
Um,
me.
exactly. So, all right, that's really helpful though. For in terms of trends and strategies that are or are not working. I have a question on that actually. The sales call, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we do a sales call? Do we not do a sales call? When do you generally advise? And I know it's very unique to the product, the offer, the person, but generally, what rules of thumb do you use about? I encourage a sales call or I don't encourage a sales call. What do you look for?
So I always tell people they should show up on a sales call if that's where their best energy is. So I'm going to use me for an example. I've had 109 clients this year and I've done like 6 sales calls. Getting on a sales call is actually not where I'm best because I have an extremely dominant personality and I'm very much like, are you in or are you out? Like, you said your sales suck. Do you need me or not? And it's a lot easier for people to see that dominant personality that they probably are not going to like on a call. So if I can keep them in the DMs or I can keep them on a voice note, it doesn't come across as much. So I always say you should use a sales call if it is going to benefit you. If you're somebody, for an example, that's not real confident in your programs, and you're not real confident in your pricing, don't get on a sales call where they can see you and you're like, I mean, I don't know, it's like $777, but like I can throw in this too, and like it's not going to be helpful, right? Show up on a sales call if that is where you're good. I believe that you can sell on a sales call. I believe that you can sell in the DMs. I believe that you can sell on Messenger, but it has to be where you feel good. And then I always ask people too, like if someone messages me and says, hey, Jill, I'm curious about how to work with you. I always say, I would love to send you the information. Would you like it here or would you like to jump on a call? I know that you're busy. So if it's easier to do it here, I'd love to send it there. Now I've also rerouted it that like, I don't want them to tell me to get on a call. Because
Yes.
again, that's not where I'm good. So in corporate sales, I dealt with chefs and business owners, and I had like 30 seconds to talk to them. So it was very much like, hey, do you want this tenderloin? You guys have a big sale this weekend. Like, are you in or are you out? And unfortunately, that's like the same, that's my personality. So when I get an introvert on the phone, or maybe someone who's not as confident, I like am more of like a bulldoze on them. So if I can keep them off of a call and in the DMs and nurture them and take a second to respond and breathe and have better energy, that's where I like to do it.
I like that a lot. And it's basically show up where you're at your best. And I love that advice because I think that
100%.
there's a lot of broad-based advice out there that, oh, you should do a sales call if it's X amount of money, or you should do a sales call if it's this type of offer. And
Mhm.
I think that I do agree though that doing sales calls is a great way to hone your skills. But you have to be really self-aware on how you show up
Yes.
and be able to critique and evaluate yourself, record them and understand, maybe this isn't my strong suit. And like decide if you want to develop that or if you want to show up where you're at your best.
Yeah. Yeah. It's even funny too, like, part of my brand is like, I'm always like kind of messy. So even like that's hard for me too. So like a lot of times people will want to get on sales calls and I'm like, I don't want them to jump on a call and I'm in like a baseball hat and like a hoodie and they think like they won't take me as serious and they're showing up and they're a realtor and they're in like a suit coat. So again, it's like, even that too, it's like, I don't want my brand to sometimes like come across as like different on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. And you can sell multiple six figures in the DMs. I sold multiple six figures this year in the DM. So it's not about a certain price point. It's about really knowing how to have those conversations and how to navigate them through to get to the answers that you want. You want your people to be so empowered by the end of the conversation that they're like, I need to buy from you and I want to buy from you. And you could almost be like, are you sure this is what you want? And they're like, yes.
Love it. I absolutely love it. That's where we want to get to, right, guys? That you just want to be in a place where it's with ease, that you can just welcome all of that in and people want to work with you. And that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
Um, so many entrepreneurs listening, right? They do all their own sales. Maybe they don't have a sales background or consider themselves salespeople by
Yep.
nature or by skill.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not looking to necessarily develop that skill, but what would you tell people, what advice would you offer on either where to start honing your skills, or let's say you have no desire and you want to offload that, those two different types of entrepreneurs, what's your first piece of advice for each of them?
Yeah. So one, you're never going to sell your programs no one's going to sell your programs as good as you. So remember that, like, you are the business owner and there are some things that like you have to do as a business owner. One of them is create revenue and drive sales. So one, if you're not comfortable talking about your offers, your products and your services, I do this with all of my one-on-one clients. Are you sure this program, product or service lights you up? Because you should be so excited to talk about it. You could meet me at a Starbucks, you could meet me on a podcast, and I would be like, Real Girl, Real Sales will change your life. It's a transformational program. And like for $2,000, you're insane not to buy into it. Like, but if I didn't believe in that program and I didn't believe in myself, then sales wouldn't feel good. So I always say, like, you have to be your first sale. Are you sold on what you're doing? Are you sold on your price? Or did you price it because that's what everyone else is doing? Did you pick some crazy unicorn number? Are you doing a program that everybody else has done? So you think you need to do it that way? Then that's where sales doesn't feel good because you're not energetically aligned with it.
I absolutely love that advice. Yes. So if you're not confident selling it, then they're not going to be confident buying it.
No,
And no, and they are buying you whether you understand it or not, right? Like they are buying you. Like people are not buying a tax return from me. They want to work with Shannon.
you want to
You
work with
can
Shannon.
you can get your tax return at H&R Block.
Right. And they're not confident in their ability. So if
Mhm.
Shannon doesn't show up confident, they're going to be like, I don't know. But if they're not confident in in what they need, and Shannon is like, I got you. Like, give me all your stuff. I got you. We're going to take care of this. Like, it's going to change your life. They're going to be like, thank you. But if
Mhm.
she's like, oh, I think I can help you. I mean, maybe, I don't know, like, try it out. Then they're going to be like, I don't think that's what I want.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
want
so
to
make
I don't want to duct tape it together. I want it to really work.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So what advice would you have if you're, okay, no one can sell as well as you. Yes, you can train a sales team eventually with a process. And once my advice would be, and you tell me if you agree, is to do it yourself and find what works and what sticks and what works for you and craft a process, maybe even a script if it works, right? That you
Yep.
could hand off to someone to train them on your offers, but you kind of have to prove the concept
Yes,
first and make sure it works.
you have to prove it first, right? And remember, sales is a skill. So you got to bring on people that understand your business. your languaging, how you talk, what you can deliver, what your transformation is, and then they have to be able to articulate that back as well. Now, I'm not a huge believer on scripts, but I'm a huge believer in a framework.
Yes.
So if you are getting on a sales call, you should know like it goes in some sort of order. You're not just jumping on and like shooting the shit with people, right? Like there is an order in which it needs to go. And you as the business owner, you need to be controlling that conversation. Otherwise it's going to get out of control.
I love it. And where can folks go to hone their sales skills? They're saying, I've never learned this before. I don't know how you got so good at this, Jillian, but where do I go to learn how to sell?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, come see me. But there's a lot of great books out there. It's funny. I have like the world's biggest crush on Grant Cardone. I binge his YouTube videos like no tomorrow. Like I'm obsessed with Grant Cardone. Like if you're not in a place to invest in a coach or a mentor or join a program, there is a ton of free information out there. You can buy a book. You can listen to a podcast. Send me a DM. I have 1,000 podcasts on sales that I've done. Find a book, find something that feels good to you and your energy, right? Like Grant Cardone's energy is like my energy. So of course I'm obsessed with him. But if I was an introvert, he wouldn't be my first choice to listen to on YouTube. It might be like grabbing a book from, an older gentleman or something like that.
Love it. Love it. So I'm going to ask you 3 basically rapid fire questions that I didn't give you ahead of time, that are fun to get to know you type of questions. And then we'll wrap up with finding out how exactly folks can come and work with you, because
Perfect.
I've loved working with you. Just so you guys know that Jillian has worked with me, and I absolutely adore her. I love her approach to sales and making it a little bit more digestible and less, technical. It's more of like an art and a science, and it's so much fun to learn.
Thank you.
So let's dive into the questions. What is one investment that you currently can't live without?
A mentor, a coach. I'll never not have a coach. I'll never not have a mentor. But I have 2 guidelines to this. This is great for if you guys are listening. So if I'm going to hire a coach or a mentor, they have to have had success offline. They cannot have just been in this online space and created a business, and maybe they are, maybe they have really good marketing. Maybe they read a book and now they can articulate it really well out. I want to know where your success is offline, right? So the Harders, I work with the Harders. Business offline. Raquel Quinnett is my one-on-one coach, multiple, successful business owner offline. So I want to know what success you've had offline. Just like I tell people all the time, I didn't just come to social media and decide to be a sales coach. Like this is what I've been doing longer than like half of my life. So that's one thing that I ask myself. The second thing I ask myself is who's pouring into them? Because I want to make sure that my coach has people pouring into them that I would want to learn from, right? So again, I'm going to take me for an example. I have the Harders pouring into me. I have Raquel Quinnett pouring into me. I have her coach pouring into her. Look who the Harders are attached to. Like there's so many people in that ecosystem that are now all in some sort of way pouring into me. At the end of the day, like Dean Graziosi is still pouring into me, even though I don't work with him, because I'm one connection away because of Chris. So it's really, really, really important, I think, that you ask yourself those 2 questions. And probably a third one, is this what you need right now? Because I think so often people invest in programs, products, and services in the wrong order.
Yes.
I have people all the time that come to me and they were like, I just had a girl yesterday. Hey, I want to start working with you. What do you have? Nothing. You don't have anything yet? No, I'm thinking of something. I'm not the person for you yet then. So I think sometimes we want to work with people because we like their energy, we like their vibe, but they're not actually what we need right now. Someone needs to create like a framework of like, you work with this person first, then this person, then this type of person, then this type of person. Because I think that people are just buying programs and buying courses and buying the things, and it's not in any sort of order. And at the end of the day, you have a shit ton of information, you've wasted a shit ton of money.
Yes. Like, for example, I hear people all the time say this, and this is why I didn't do this. They did their website first. And the thing is, I waited to hire a copywriter until I had my messaging locked and loaded. I knew exactly who my ideal client was. I knew exactly what they were attracted to. And then you hire a really good copywriter and you invest in doing it right the first time around, even if it's if it's later, right?
Yeah.
And that's been huge. And you're right. They do need to come up with a framework. So anyone who's listening who wants to come up with that, there you go.
Yeah.
It's an absolute brilliant strategy to say, what is the order of events I have to go through here?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It's totally true. And enthusiasm for something, it doesn't mean you have a product or a service. You've got to prove that it's working, and you've got to have something to bring to the table to take advantage of Jillian's advice. So
Yeah. Yeah,
totally agree.
absolutely.
Love it. So then second question, what's one thing you learned about money that turned out not to be true?
That I would say that it's never capped. It's never
Hmm.
capped. I was in corporate America for 22 years, and I thought like when I got to six figures, that was like the golden thing. And I think what I didn't realize was that like you have the ability to create as much income or as much wealth as you want if you have drive, grit, passion, hustle, whatever it is. So I think that would be something that I kind of learned about money. And then I always talk about this on my stories, and I'll probably go off on a rant. What I also learned about money is that like this space warps your mind. It
Hmm.
massively warps your mind. There are people who are saving lives, operating on brains every day, taking care of people in hospitals, doctors, nurses, all of these things, and they are making nowhere near what these online coaches are making. And we think because we're not making that, we're less than. So I've gone through a lot of health stuff the last couple months, and I was actually at U of M Hospital, and I was seeing an ophthalmologist. And I had just gotten off my phone, and I was scrolling about somebody complaining that they did not hit $500,000 in their business this year. And I thought to myself, this guy operates on eyes and brains. I'm going to Google what an ophthalmologist makes. And he taps out around $350,000. And I sat there and I was with my mom, and I was like, these people online are so warped. And I think what happens in the money space is we get so focused in on like what we have to make 10K months, $100,000 launches, $1 million businesses. And like at the end of the day, is that even what you need? Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
that makes me nuts.
I love that. And we did a whole episode on the vanity metrics, right? Of like, is that even, and here's the other thing, another element to that I'll add on is these, they coming out and saying 500K or 10K months, whatever K months, 7-figure a year CFO or CEO coach. And I'm going, yeah, that 1 year you made that much in revenue and spent 90% of it on other things, which is totally fine, by the way.
Yeah,
When you're in
there's a girl right now who just hit $1 million in her business, and I know that her coach is $400,000 a year. So you just gave a quarter of your income away to a coach. So you didn't actually make $1 million this year.
Right. And I
Yeah,
think that we just see the headline, we just see the highlight reel, we just see the top line number, the one metric, right? And it's kind of like putting out, I always say this, it's like posting your weight, and it's like that's not how healthy you are,
right.
right? So someone could be painfully unhealthy and have a certain weight that you think is desirable because it's a metric that you want to hit, but you have no idea what other roots are under that surface. And you cannot possibly, they're not going to publish that. So you can't attach to a metric. And it's just
No,
something I'm so passionate about. So I'm glad
me
that you
too.
see that as well.
Yeah.
Um, so fittingly, my third question on that topic is, Jillian, what makes you feel like a millionaire?
What makes me feel like a millionaire is that I get to work with the most amazing humans. And I always say that like I would not trade the people that I work with right now for different income. Like I am so insanely grateful for the women that are in my ecosystem, in my programs, in my community that I get to work with. So I would say that like to me makes me feel like I've succeeded and makes me feel like a millionaire. That would be one of them. And then, I've been able to experience some pretty great things this year, whether it was retreats, whether it was travel, and living in that abundance has definitely felt good. But I think that you can feel like a millionaire regardless of what it is that you're making. Listen to country music. They'll tell you all about living like a millionaire, living in an apartment, right? Like it's all like perception.
I totally agree. And that's why I love asking that question, because everyone has such a different lens that they see that through. And I love that. Well, I want to thank you for spending the time with us and giving us
Thank
so
you.
many gold nuggets of sales strategy and helpful tips from the newer entrepreneur to the 7-figure earner. People can take a lot from this.
And I love
So
that you said that. I work with people who are brand new, and I work with multi 7-figure earners
yeah,
because sales is still something that you need regardless of where you're at in your business.
yeah. And I feel like no one knocks it out of the park 100% of the time. It's like professional athletes still have coaches. You know,
100%.
they never top
I
out.
mean, no, I mean, I'm really good in sales and I still get told no. So of course I'm going to have people that are refining my skills all the time too.
Yeah. You can always flex that muscle and always exercise it and get stronger. And that's what I love about the different disciplines that we're part of, right? Is that we're always helping people improve,
Yeah.
no matter where they are on the spectrum of skill. So,
Yeah.
again, thank you for taking the time
Thank
today
you.
and going through this. And tell everyone listening where they can find you if they need their sales strategy, if they need sales help. How can they get in touch with you? Where can they find you? And what are you doing right now? What do you have to
Yeah.
offer folks?
So right now, I actually am pretty excited. I just opened up my coaching program to men. So if you are a man listening to this, that is a new avenue for me. I'm super excited. We actually transitioned from real girl sales to real sales, real results. So we got a little bit of a upgrade there because there were so many men that were curious about working with me. And for so long, I was like, hey, I don't work with men. And I'm like, maybe I should. So if you're a guy listening to this, you want to hone in on your sales skills, shoot me a message. But I live on the gram. I'm in the gram all the time. I love being in my stories. Reach out, you guys. If you guys are a friend or a fan of this podcast, you're a friend, a fan of mine, DM me. Let's connect. Let me see how I can support you and literally just virtually support you, whatever that looks like.
I love it. So make sure you're following Jillian. And what's your handle?
Jillian M. Murphy.
Love it. Make sure you're
Yes.
giving her a follow. And I know you took something out of this episode you didn't know before, or you had an idea or a thought that inspired you. So if you did, let us know on social media, share this episode to your stories, tag Jillian, tag myself, and let us know what you learned and what you're excited to share with your fellow entrepreneurs. Thank you again, Jillian, so much. And I'll see you guys next episode.
All right. Thanks, guys.